I have never played a non-Persona Shin Megami Tensei game. Until now, that is. SMT5 was a game I knew released and always planned to get round to at some point, but never found the time for it. It was 3 years ago it came out apparently. Didn't know that, thought it was a lot more recent, gonna be honest. So when the Vengeance expanded version was announced, I was determined to not let that happen again. As I always do, I intended to platinum it, and this video is basically just gonna be me talking about that experience. First though, quickly gonna say, I'm not going to discuss the plot in any detail, but I might show out of context fights or scenes in the video, so if you don't want to see anything, just listen to it like a podcast in another tab. That's a good way of doing it, that's how I watch a lot of my videos. Now, my first playthrough I intended to be the one that I did most of the stuff on. Originally, I went in completely blind, but towards the end I ended up looking up the ending requirements, which I'm actually quite glad I did. Now, very quick to note is that you can do the platinum on any difficulty because there's no difficulty trophies at all, and I personally did casual difficulty because I know SMT is supposed to be a really hard JRPG series, and I figured this would maybe bring it more in line with other games I play. I'm not really about that ball-crushing difficulty, to each their own, it's not for me. Worth noting though, that's not the easiest difficulty. There is an easier one called Safety, and this is literally free. No challenge whatsoever. You can get all the trophies using it, but personally I found it too easy and just not engaging and fun at all. Even casual, the next difficulty up, is by comparison way harder. Difficulty tangent aside, I decided to go for the hidden ending that requires the most work on my first run. Mainly because I was going to do all the side quests anyway, as it was my first time playing it, so I thought, hey, might as well, saves me having to redo them all. Even though I don't think you actually do need to redo them, I think it saves if you've done them even if you're on a New Game Plus, but I didn't know that at the time. I would also later find out you need to do this ending to unlock the Satan super boss in the other route, so I lucked out there. Oh yeah, I probably should have mentioned this was on the creation route, aka the original SMT5 story. I figured since I never played the original, I should do that first before the new Vengeance story to get a better sense of the changes and improvements. Now, as I said, I was doing everything I could on this run. To be more specific, I got all 200 Miman, not difficult, there's demons you can pay in the game to reveal the locations even if you don't want to use an online map guide, it's all in the game. I also did every subquest I could do, collected the Algami husks, the amalgams, the demon statues, the abscesses, the talismans, and the periaps for their relevant trophies. In fact, in terms of these miscellaneous trophies, collectible whatever, the only ones I didn't get were learning 120 miracles because I figured I could grind up and get it all right now, get all the glory or whatever, but I thought it would naturally be easier to do on the repeat playthroughs I was going to have to do, I'd get enough that way. And believe it or not, triggering a fusion accident. I got the compendium to about 80% I think on my first playthrough, didn't get a single accident. Maybe the difficulty being easier affects it, or maybe I just got unlucky, or lucky I guess, depending on how you look at it. I also grinded myself to max level as well as getting enough gospels to max level once again once I get Godborn mode and raise the level cap. Now, I do want to say, I did buy the EXP Magatama DLC to do this, and I really hate this practice, just gonna say that. I think it's really poor form to make grinding take absolutely ages unless you buy this. No, it's not expensive, but it's a crummy move, you know, don't do it. I reckon buying this saved potentially tens of hours from just grinding, so I will say, if you're going for the platinum, bite the bullet, just buy it. I know it's bad practice and you shouldn't reward it. Your time is worth more than the £2.50 or whatever that is in dollars that it'll take otherwise. If you're not going for the platinum, absolutely don't buy it, you don't need it. Please be annoyed at Atlas for putting it for sale rather than me for buying it. I've got a video to do, cheers. Now, the reason I wanted to max level is because I wanted to do all the sub-quests I had, which included some super bosses, namely Shiva, who I think you need for the true ending apparently. I say apparently because sites actually list different things you need to do and it's pretty unclear, but whatever. I lowered the difficulty to Safety for the super bosses just to see how busted easy, because I'd avoided using it this far, so I gave it a go on casual, the super bosses, and got smashed, obviously. And then I lowered it to Safety just to see the difference, you know? And yeah, no, it's not difficult on Safety, you crush them all, even without like preparing very much at all. So to be clear, if you just want the platinum and don't care about challenge at all, Safety makes it really, really easy. Now, before people get all mad at this admittedly very cheap move, I did this knowing I would be able to do these better prepared on a later playthrough. I can make saves and just do it whenever. Personally, I think Atlas should have made the super boss trophies unobtainable on Safety mode, but what do you think? That's what I think is a pretty easy solution to that. After doing all that though, I finished my first run with a time of around 45 hours, so not that long really, considering all the stuff that I did in it. I would say though I was very just whelmed at this point with the game. I thought the combat was really good, but the story and characters did basically nothing for me. After a brief research break, I decided to do the Vengeance route next because apparently you need to beat the Saint and Super Boss in that mode to unlock Godborn mode and raise the level cap. Now, I had heard that this story was completely different from the original, so imagine my surprise when most of the first area is the same, albeit with a few additional scenes. Thankfully though, after this it really starts diverging and is almost completely different. The third area is a completely different area than the third area in the other route, which I really appreciated, even if I don't like the area as much. I do think the Vengeance route is the more interesting story-wise as well, though some of it feels like it really needs you to have played the original route, as it skips over some explanations and sort of assumes that you know this stuff. Honestly, if you take parts from both and stick them into one route, that probably would have been the most ideal way of doing it. I defeated the new Satan boss on this run using safety mode again. I just wasn't in the mood to do it properly right now, okay? I made a save, I can come back and do it whenever, it's fine. This unlocks Godborn mode for later and also lets me buy a miracle that raises the level cap to 150, which I immediately did as I had already pre-farmed the Gospels, as I said earlier. After that, I went and got the ending. I think it was the Vengeance lore ending. I'm sorry if I get the terminology wrong. This run took 11 hours, bringing the total to 56. I decided for my third ending to do the other Vengeance ending, and also decided to do Godborn mode, which raises all the levels substantially. The tutorial fight is level 150, so is every other enemy. However, since this isn't a difficulty technically, you can still play on safety to make it completely free. Now, seeing as I had already beaten both routes, at least somewhat normally, I decided to stick it on safety to speed through the rest of the endings. I did feel a bit guilty for this on Godborn mode, but then again, Atlas could have just made safety negate the trophy, and they didn't. I think it's their fault, not mine. There's really not a lot more to add for these next playthroughs, other than along the way I got the 120 Miracle Trophy, as well as some other route exclusive endgame quests that grant fusions that I'll need a bit later on. Boy, I sure hope I got them all. Oh, and I also beat Ishtar without powering her down. I think this was playthrough 4. Can you tell I didn't make a lot of notes for this part? By the time I got my 6th and final ending, the game time was 71 hours. So 15 hours for 4 playthroughs, not too bad when you put it like that. But of course, that's not the platinum yet, so I started another playthrough and blitzed through until I got to the point where I could do the virtual challenge battles. This is the reason that you can't save scum to get all the endings, by the way. Each ending unlocks a set of battles and you need to do them all on one file, so yeah, you need to do 6 and a bit full playthroughs to get the platinum. Now, as for the battles themselves, you have to do both the original difficulty and the challenge difficulty. Challenge difficulty, they're at level 100, I think. Original difficulty is what they are when you fight them in the story. Now, I would love to tell you I did these legitimately on a proper difficulty, but I'm going to be honest, I just didn't want to do it again, so yes, I did them all on safety. Sue me. After that, all I had to do was complete the compendium. I made sure it was a full moon, as that apparently increases the chance of fusion accidents, which I still hadn't had, and while researching them, I then found out there's apparently demons you can only get through fusion accidents, which I was, God, just not happy to hear. So I did eventually force out the fusion accident demons. I fused stuff close to their levels to the ones I wanted. No idea if that helps, but I figured there's no way it would hurt. While fusing though, I came across a pretty bad realization. I was missing one. I couldn't fuse Almighty because I hadn't done her quest in Vengeance story. I was not currently on the Vengeance story. So I beat the game again, started another run on Vengeance, played through half of that again, did the stupid quest, and fused her and then the other ones that she leads into. Turns out, I'm now on 98%. I do some looking up and googling to figure out what I missed. I went through the wiki and just looked at my game and said, do I have that? No. Do I have that? Yes, okay. I'm missing 4 demons, 3 of which, apparently, were DLC originally, and I didn't get them because the relevant quests don't appear until you talk to a specific NPC, and then the quest markers appear. It's easy enough once I look that up. I know you could say I should just talk to everyone. I know that is a realistic thing to say. I didn't do that, okay? These were Cleopatra, Mephisto, and Artemis, by the way, in case you were wondering. The final one I was missing was Saturnus, whose side quest is in the 4th area, which means I need to progress more in the story. Brilliant. At least I was on the right route. Imagine if I had to beat the game again and then go through the whole thing again. That would have been a nightmare. Eventually, I did all this, fused the last demon, got the final trophy. After almost 8 playthroughs and almost 80 hours, I had the platinum, which was still a shorter time than my casual playthrough of Persona 5 Royal. So what do I think about the game? Honestly, I had a good time. The combat was really enjoyable in particular. While the story wasn't especially amazing, it wasn't bad, and I would argue that the new Vengeance story is still a marked improvement over the original one. Honestly, a lot of my problems with the game are specific to the Platinum Trophy, and at that point I don't treat them as a big deal, because most people aren't going to do that. Things like needing to do 6 full playthroughs minimum and route-specific, easily missable demons. But if you weren't going for the plat, you'd not be bothered about filling the compendium and would just save scum the endings, except I think Vengeance you need to do a second playthrough anyway. But 3 total playthroughs is a lot less than 6. It's half as many in fact, there's your math for today. But I'm curious, have you played or platinumed the game? How have you found it if so? Let me know in the comments, and while you're there, why not subscribe and check out some of my other videos, both old and new. It's free, so even if you don't use the sub box, it helps me out, no loss to yourself, you might as well do it. Thank you for watching this video. For now though, I'm off, hunt them tropes, and I'll see you next time.